to make a statement, and a statement they just made. Make the handoff to Trubisky out to his right. Big play to the problem they've had up there has been a big reason why they've struggled overall. Takes off. Plays really well. He's been one of the real bright spots, one of the few bright spots for them offensively. Trubisky keeps, looks, throws, passes, incomplete. Jordan Lewis came close to a pick, but didn't get both feet. Jason Garrett's going to throw the challenge flag, and based on that replay,
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to Ep.7, Chicago Bears Weekly. I am going live. So, first things first, I'm coming into this live stream with a bit of a heavy heart. Last night, I found out that my brother-in-law passed away. So, I'm going into this with a little bit of a heavy heart. But he's one of the people that supported me throughout this YouTube journey. So, I'm doing this in honor of him. A little rough right now, but just keep my family in your prayers. But let's get on with the Chicago Bears talk. Even Bears news is dropping this morning that, let me make sure I got this information right. That the Bears are signed former chief safety Jordan Lucas to a one-year deal. And to be honest with you guys, I'm not really too familiar with Jordan Lucas. I had to look up some tape or whatever to really kind of see how he was and see how he played. But that does fill a strong safety void. So, but first thing is first. What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in. First things first, let me talk about some of these free agent moves. The first thing that happened was Jimmy Graham. And let's just say I'm not too much of a fan of it. We kind of overpaid for a tight end, but we could have got guys like Ebron on the market for a whole lot cheaper. Jimmy Graham does help in the red zone, but I think we overpaid for him. I really, really think that the Bears overpaid for Jimmy Graham. We could have got Jimmy Graham on a way, way cheaper deal. We really overpaid for Jimmy Graham. I understand that we had a tight end need. I understand that we had deficiencies in the red zone last year, but the Bears could have, number one, got a cheaper tight end and Eric Ebron or somebody else. And B, we could have done better with that money. We really could have. I wish we could have got Ebron too. I was hoping for Austin Hooper, but the way he got that contract in Cleveland, I believe. Yeah, Cleveland. It was just too much of a too big payroll. And I understand them not getting not Ebron Hooper, but we could have got Ebron for a much cheaper price. The Steelers got him at a bargain price. The Steelers got him at a bargain price. Yeah, the Bears couldn't compete with that Cleveland deal. We couldn't compete with that Cleveland deal at all. We couldn't. We couldn't compete with that Cleveland deal. Cleveland gave him way too much money. Cleveland gave him a lot of money. A lot of money. And I mean a lot of money Cleveland gave him. Cleveland gave him a lot. So I'm not going to sit here and say that the Bears could have done better. So Cleveland gave him a ton of money. I agree we still need to address the cornerback situation. We really do. the cornerback situation definitely needs to improve. It definitely needs to improve. It definitely needs to improve. I will admit. Another thing I want to touch on is the Nick Foles trade. Nick Foles trade. I I'm not a real big fan of it. I'm not really too happy about it. Um, I understand that we needed a backup quarterback, but I just think Nick Foles' contract is crazy, and the way the Bears are spending money is, I mean, it's basically Ryan Pace is almost basically admitting that his job is on the line. Ryan Pace is basically admitting his job is on the line. Is really what I'm seeing of that. It is better than Chase Daniel. Now, personally, I've said that I wish we could have got Cam, but I understand them not getting Cam because of the injury history that he's had the last 2 years. I kind of understand it, but I think Cam Newton would have been a better fit versus Nick Foles. But Nick Foles does have some familiarity with John DeFilippo, who's our new QB coach, and Matt Nagy. So he does have some familiarity there. But honestly, I would have loved Cam Newton on the Bears with a Bears uniform. I'm not gonna lie. I would have loved to see Cam Newton in the Bears uniform. I would have loved to see that. Yeah, they didn't get Cam because of his health. So that's the only thing I could think of. His health. Nick Foles does come up big in important games. But I don't know. It's a wait and see on this one. I don't know. But it's just weird that all his success has been in Philly. All the successes that he had has been in the Eagle uniform, the first stint and the second stint. Both of his success seasons, well, not successful seasons, but yeah, basically his successful runs in his career has been in an Eagles uniform. And outside of Nick Foles being in an Eagles uniform, he really hadn't done too much. So I'm interested to see how that works. He does have familiarity, like I said, but I'm interested to see how that works. Deion Bush's re-signing is just something we needed to do. Um, Keeping him in the Bears uniform was key, especially after losing Clinton Dix. But it does free Eddie Jackson to move back to that free safety spot. So I'm not really too mad at the loss of Clinton Dix. It kind of got Eddie Jackson out of his element last year. Even though Eddie Jackson still had a really productive season, it's just the fact of him being a strong safety versus his natural position of free safety where he can run around and roam around a little bit more and use a little bit more of his instincts like he did in 2018. And so it's just good that Eddie Jackson is back at his free safety spot where he belongs, and that's his more natural position versus the strong safety where he was last year. So I think Deion Bush and the signing of Jordan Lucas, I think it's just going to help really bring Eddie Jackson back to his 2018 form. I really do. Eddie Jackson's one of those players that I've compared him to an Ed Reed. I really think he's an Ed Reed type of player. He's one of those guys that's gonna free and just roam around and use his instincts. So I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know much about Jordan Lucas. I mean, it does. Matter of fact, I'm gonna have to look up Jordan Lucas because I'm really not too familiar with the guy, and I'm not gonna sit here and lie with you guys. Let me do a little bit of research on my own. Here. I'm not really too familiar with Jordan Lucas. He had ooh. Nah, see, he really hasn't done a lot. And he's still going on 27. So his best year was 2018, where he had a pick, 32 solo tackles, 32 combined tackles, 22 solo tackles. So his best year was 2018, and that was on the Chiefs defense that was absolutely terrible. So yeah, now that I look at the records, now I look at the stats, it's not really. I'm kind of iffy on that. So it's just crazy how I think the Bears spent too much money before they can address some other needs. I really think the Bears spent too much money. The Bears spent way too much money. They did. They are. I agree. The Bears are spending way too much money. Way too much money. And I think that's why they are unable to get a better free safety in the market, because they spent a ton of money when they could have used money elsewhere, albeit probably the offensive line, which they still haven't addressed. Still haven't addressed the offensive line. So it's just crazy. The Bears still haven't addressed the offensive line and during this free agency. Like, offensive line is something the Bears need to address like to yesterday. Like, honestly, the Bears. I mean, I get they're going all in with this free agency class and this free agency period. I get that we're going all in. I get it, but I just really think the Bears just agreed. That's the biggest reason why he wasn't productive. And then, this is one thing I actually do got to get off my chest. This is one thing I have to say about this Mitchell going to be productive. I don't care if you had Tom Brady. I don't care if you had Drew Brees. I don't care if you had Big Ben. I don't care if you had Mahomes. I don't care if you had Lamar. The Bears' offensive line last year was just bad. It was awful. Absolutely awful. And for everybody to sit here and blame everything is on Trubisky, it's Trubisky's fault. Trubisky didn't play well. Trubisky this, Trubisky that, and not point out the poor offensive line play that we had last year just really lets me know that you really don't pay attention to everything that's going on the football field. It is not all on Trubisky. Trubisky did not have the greatest of years. Yes, of course, he did not. But it is not all on him. When you don't have the proper offensive line to protect them, you don't have the proper offensive line to maintain a running game. You cannot blame it all on Trubisky when the offensive line play is horrible and when the play calling is not the best. You're not rolling him out outside of the pocket. They really didn't start doing that till later on in the season when it was already too late after our 4-game losing streak. So we can't just sit here and just say it's all Trubisky's fault. It's not. I'm not going to sit here and just make sure Trubisky doesn't get any blame, but we are putting too much blame on Trubisky when it's not 100% him. He's not the greatest pocket passer, and I don't think at this point he's going to develop to one of the greater pocket passers. But he does have the athletic skill set to be one of those types. I think he's more like a Jake Plummer. And Jake Plummer was one of those guys that they rolled out a lot, and he was more successful on the bootleg. Now, he could beat you in the pocket as well, but they use his athletic ability as his strength. And I think that is something the Bears failed to do in 2019. They did a lot of it in 2018, was which Mitch had his better season, but they failed to do a lot of it in 2019 off their front shoulder. When you can't really, let's say, rotations on their shoulder, it's gonna be a lot. I want to say it's a little bit harder to play the quarterback position when you have an injury to one of your shoulders, even if you're not your throwing shoulder. Like, I don't understand this. Like, people are just so quick to plant the finger on Trubisky, and it's not really all Trubisky's fault. It's not. It's not all Trubisky's fault. It's really not. I just had to like. We need to wake up and stop just blaming Trubisky. Now, if he doesn't have a good year this year, if they were able to get offensive line pieces, then that's different. But it's not all on Mitchell Trubisky. Guys, you have to realize Tony Jefferson, he's going to be solid, but the Bears have already spent too much money, so I don't think they're going to go after him. I hope they do, but the signing of Jordan Lucas, I think that just explains everything. And they only signed him for $1 million. So they got him for basically the minimum. So that's basically telling you that the Bears are kind of stricken on cap room right now. They've already restructured Khalil Mack's deal, so I think the Bears are kind of cap stricken. And I think they shot themselves in the foot in terms of cap room. They really struck. I think they shot themselves in the foot with the cap room. I really do. They made a lot of expensive moves, some that they didn't need to make, i.e., Jimmy Graham. So the Bears made a lot of moves that I kind of question. Maybe that's just my opinion, but the Bears need to address the line in the draft. I don't care what else they do. They need to address this offensive line, because if we don't address this offensive line, we're not going anywhere. I think they kind of restructured how the money was working. They didn't give too many details, I think, about exactly how the deal went. But oh, that was last year. Okay, I'm making sure. They created space in 2019. Okay. Actually, he got more money on the cap this year. But I think last year they was trying to go all in. And I think they're doing it this year, but they lost some contracts. But they did extend Eddie Jackson. They did extend Danny Trevathan. So, but they did they spent a lot of money on Nick Foles, which I don't think they should have done. I think it was a lot cheaper options, AB or Andy Dalton on the market. Cam Newton was actually a little bit more expensive than Foles, to be honest, but his contract wasn't. I want to say he didn't have that many years left, as say Nick Foles has, because Nick Foles has 3 years and $50 million left. So that's the only thing that gets to me. And with the Nick Foles, when I think you're really getting him to try to get to be a starter, because I think that move for Nick Foles is really saying that the Bears lost faith in Trubisky. Ooh. The Bears lost faith in Trubisky. That's what I think this move is really saying. That the Bears have really lost faith in Mitchell Trubisky. I'm really, really thinking that's what this move is. That the Bears have lost faith in Mitch. Honestly, Bears have lost faith in Mitch because they wouldn't have gotten this move. They wouldn't have went out and drafted this guy. I mean, not drafted. They wouldn't went out and traded for Foles if they didn't think Trubisky could last or Trubisky was the guy. I think they've given up on him, which is not the. I don't think it's the greatest thing to do because everything last year, like I said, was not his fault. But it is what it is. But the Bears still haven't addressed the biggest need, and that's their offensive line. They're going to skate. They're skating around it right now, but they're going to have to address the offensive line. I don't understand what the Bears don't get. But like, if any quarterback doesn't have the proper protection, it's not going to go anywhere. And the Bears don't have the line to give any quarterback the proper protection. Only one that has a little bit of stand of a chance is Lamar because he can run for his fucking life. Lamar can run for his life. I don't get the Bears some of these moves right now. I mean, I get them, but they spent too much money on them. But that's my thing. I understand why they made the moves, but they spent too much money. Robert Quinn, very solid player, very solid, very productive. He's also getting there in age. He had a really good year last year, but I I I'm a I like Robert Quinn. It could have. I mean, the guy. Okay, he's approaching 30. I want to say he's career 80 sacks. He had 11 and a half last year. His best season was 2013 with 19 sacks. He had 11 and a half last year, which is going to substitute, I think, for a lot of that production we lacked with Leonard Floyd. So that's going to be a help. But I just think the Bears could have done a little bit better with this. Maybe that's just something I'm thinking. And 2019 wasn't the greatest of years, but I'm glad they didn't really hit the panic button and just start dropping players left and right. The releases they made were smart moves, releasing Amukamara because I don't think he was there anymore. Releasing Gabriel because, number one, you had log jam at wide receiver, and I think it's his contract you lost. You get a bit off the books with his remaining salary, so the moves that they made, they're not panic moves. They're moves that needed to be made. But I just don't agree with the Nick Foles situation. They need to. They already spent the money. They could have addressed it in free agency on other pieces. So sorry, I'm just getting texts. You kind of worded that question wrong. But who do I think is going to be the starting quarterback? Honestly, they're going to give Mitch a shot at the start of the year. They're going to give Mitch his shot to be the starting quarterback. They've already committed to him. So I think they're going to give Mitch his shot to be the starting quarterback. They're going to give him his shot. I think they're going to give him a shot to start, but if he starts to flounder, doesn't produce well, Nick Foles is going to be in there. I agree. They're going to give it to Mitchell just to start the season, as if they already committed to him. They already basically just said he's going to be the starter. Well, not basically say he's going to be the starter, but they're committed to him. And when you, number one, you trade your resources in 2017 to get him, even though I didn't agree with it then, could have got Deshaun Watson. I wanted them to get Deshaun Watson. Nobody could have seen what Patrick Mahomes was doing. Nobody really seen that in 2017. But honestly, I really wanted them to get Deshaun Watson in 2017 because we seen what he can do. I loved his winning mentality. I love the way that he stepped up in big games. He produced. I've been a fan of Deshaun Watson since Clemson. So, no. Trent Williams would have loved it, but the Bears have spent enough money already. Trent Williams would have been an answer to a lot of our problems, offensive line, but we really need to. I really think we should have went after Graham Glasgow from Detroit. We really should have went after him. To get that replacement for Kyle Long, who's no longer here due to retirement, and but Trent Williams, I think, would have just cost a little bit too much money, honestly. And the Bears have known to spend money not irrationally. Well, yeah. They did it this offseason. They spent money where they kind of could have saved money in certain places. But I'm not a front office guy. If I was, I would have traded for Nick Foles. I would have traded for Andy Dalton. Or probably signed Case Keenum. Maybe that's just me. But when you trade for Nick Foles, you're basically creating a quarterback controversy, which I think they tried to avoid. Not tried to avoid, they should have tried to avoid. But what should the Bears do to finish the offensive line? They're probably going to go through the draft, which I'm not a big fan of. Because they needed somebody with some veteran experience. There's not too many rookie offensive linemen that come in and just hit the ground running. Honestly. It's just, I don't know what the Bears are going to do with the offensive line. They probably, their route, I think, is going to be in the draft, or just maybe something happens, but I don't agree with not addressing it through this free agency period when they had the opportunity to. I just don't. They overpaid for Jimmy Graham. He's basically making the exact same amount of money that that Trey Burton is making, and Trey Burton is basically almost an overpay. They got a lot of money tied into the tight end position. They've signed Demetrius Harris this all season, so they that Jimmy Graham move is actually more confusing the more that I think about it. I mean, the money wise is more confusing. We could have got Ebron much cheaper, much cheaper. They overpaid for Jimmy Graham, and Jimmy Graham hasn't been the same player the last about 3 years. He hasn't been the same player. Outside of a red zone threat, I don't think he's going to bring too much. His red zone and more a bit of his blocking, I don't think he's going to bring too much to the Bears. I really don't. Maybe that's just my opinion. But and people, and I saw a lot of people that were saying we need to get Todd Gurley. I'm glad we didn't get him. We didn't need running back was not a need. It's not a need. A lot of people on my Twitter at APW Sports, a lot of people on my Instagram at APW Sports were saying that we needed to get a tight end. I mean, not tight end, Todd Gurley. No, don't need running backs. Like, no matter what running back you get, you still got a big offensive line. I'm still surprised that we didn't extend A-Rob either. I'm actually kind of shocked we didn't extend A-Rob. I am actually kind of shocked we didn't extend A-Rob. But I don't get that one. I agree. I don't get why we haven't extended him. He's been the best receiver the last 2 years. He was a Pro Bowl snub last year, if you ask me. And he's been that go-to guy for Trubisky or Daniel last year. He was the go-to guy. He was the only guy that really got consistently open. The only guy that's got consistently open. And it looks like he's finally fully recovered from that torn ACL he suffered in 2017. It looks like he's finally in his best form right now. And it is actually surprising that we did not extend him. I think we should have extended him a while ago. But throwing that money at Jimmy Graham, I just don't understand. Robert Quinn's contract is kind of questionable. And taking on Nick Foles' contract is questionable. But we definitely should have gotten A-Rob extended. Point blank. Miller, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I actually like Anthony Miller. Very good slot receiver. Very, very good slot receiver. But to me, maybe this is just me thinking. I think we need to use Cordell Patterson more at receiver. His size, his speed, maybe if he doesn't even have to be the biggest producer. He doesn't. Cordell Patterson does not have to be the biggest producer in the world. He really doesn't. But I think using him more at a receiver position, I think can A, give the defenses different looks, and B, he can take the top off the defense. He has elite speed. I think his hands may be a little bit questionable, which has been throughout his production at the receiver position has been kind of questionable throughout his career. But I think we can use Cordell Patterson more. And we also need to play Javon Wims more. And I've been saying this for the last 2 years. Why don't we use Javon Wims more? Every time he's been in the game, at least from my standpoint, he makes something happen. He makes something happen. I've been a fan. I really like Javon Wims. I really do. We need to play him more. We really do. Javon hasn't been given an opportunity to show what he has. He's been in there in spot moments, but when he's been in there for those spot moments, he's produced. And the Bears just will not give him that chance to produce. I don't understand the Bears in some situations. Even the Bears phone case. They're just crazy. And I do like Robert Quinn's move. I do like the move, but and it frees up Akeem Hicks, of healthy Akeem Hicks, and it frees up Khalil Mack of those double and triple teams that they seen. They had to focus some tension on him too, because Leonard Floyd, I just don't believe was that guy they really focused on because he really wasn't productive. Riley Ridley, I'm not sure about him either, but they didn't give him a shot either. He maybe can do some things. It's just the Bears need to give Definitely give Javon Williams an opportunity, and definitely give Riley really a little bit more of an opportunity. And the loss of Taylor Gabriel may hurt a little bit, but I just think we have more receivers that needs a shot to do something. I really do. I really do. It's just crazy how it's just the Bears have been they put a log jam into the receiver position the last couple of years, and for them not to really utilize some of their weapons that they took in chances on is kind of crazy to me. But enough about the offense for a little bit. Gabriel was too injury prone. I will admit that, but I'm gonna switch to the defense a little bit. Um, First things first. I'm glad we got Roy Robb back. I'm glad we got Danny Trevathan extended. We got Roquan coming back. We weren't able to keep Nick Skotowski, unfortunately. He's been a really solid player for us, but we couldn't have kept Trevathan and him, especially the asking price that Kwiatkowski was really asking for. So, but I'm glad we was able to extend Trevathan. He keeps that speed at linebacker, keeps the familiarity with the defense. And Akeem Hicks, I agree, is going to be big when healthy. Roy Robb in the middle, Eddie Goldman as well. So the front four, the front seven are really for the Bears I like. You got Khalil, you have Roquan, you got Robert Quinn now. So I really like the Bears front seven. Corners, I don't know. I mean, I've never been high. Oh, Bilal Nichols too. I'm glad you mentioned that name. I'm glad you mentioned that name. I like Bilal Nichols too. He's been productive. Um, they did keep Isaiah Irvin as just some depth. Um, the corner spot is something I've been saying the Bears need to really strengthen up. But now that we lost Mukamura, we really need to strengthen it up. Even though Mukamura didn't have the greatest years in 2019. Artie Burns, um, he's okay. Artie Burns is decent. He's a nice, solid corner. Somebody that can help the Bears. And really I want to say, in the speed department, because Prince Mukamura showed that he lost a little bit of speed. He was getting burnt a lot by speedy receivers, so I just think it was a time for get somebody with some speed. Trey Robinson, solid. We got him from the CFL. It's a little solid pickup. Let's see. I do like the re-signing of Deion Bush. You lost High Clinton Dix, was kind of to me, but it is what it is. But I do like the direction this defense is going. It still has Chuck Pagano, which I think he's very solid at what he does. It's just they had to adjust a little bit under his scheme versus Vic Fangio, who left. But I actually like the direction this defense is going. We don't have a shutdown corner, but there's not a lot of shutdown corners in the league. I can only name really three off the top of my head, and Stephon Gilmore, Patrick Peterson, and Jalen Ramsey. It's not too many shutdown corners in the league at this point. I'm not going to put Richard Sherman up there because I just don't think he's really a shutdown corner, especially since he doesn't really travel. And he's been having players in the back end, but that's another topic for a different day. But do I think the Bears are going to make the playoffs? Yes, I do. I don't think the NFC East is getting any better. So I still think they're going to only have one team coming out of that division. I think Minnesota's kind of lost a lot, losing Linval Joseph, losing Xavier Rhodes, and also trading away Stephon Diggs. So I think Minnesota lost a bit. They did extend Cousins, but I think losing Diggs, losing Rhodes, losing Joseph, especially losing Joseph in the middle of your defense. And they also are going to lose Everson Griffin as well. So I think the Vikings, they've kind of lost a lot. So I don't think they're going to be one of the teams that really bounce back and make the playoffs. I'm still going to put Green Bay up there as much as I hate to say it. Green Bay is still going to be one of those teams that the Bears have to get over. And the NFC West might be a little bit tougher now, especially when you have the Cardinals getting – well, the Lions, I'm not even going to concern the Lions. They're not going to no playoffs. In the NFC West, you do have the defending NFC champion Niners. You do have Seattle. That's still always around. The Cardinals are going to be better with DeAndre Hopkins. And I think the Rams are going to fall a bit. Losing Gurley, losing Matthews. They do have Jalen Ramsey on the back end. They still have one of the best defense players in the league, Aaron Donald. But the South is going to be a little bit more challenging now with Brady, Breeze, Ryan, and also Teddy Bridgewater playing quarterback for him. Even though I don't think Carolina is going to make the playoffs this year. Losing Kuechly, I think that's going to hurt the defense a ton. Falcons, they did add Gurley, but their defense is still one to be questioned. The Saints, they're going to be the Saints. So, and I'll be honest with you guys. I'm always been a big Drew Brees fan. So I do like the Saints. Michael Thomas from the Ohio State University. So, and they just added back Malcolm Jenkins from the Ohio State University. The Saints, I think they're still going to be one of the top teams in the NFC. You have Tampa with Brady. I am going to be honest and say they're kind of skeptical. I don't think Brady is that same player anymore. The name just rings everything. But do I think the Bears can make the playoffs? I definitely think so. And that depends on offensive line play, and that depends on quarterback play. But if everything comes together with the defense that we have and the weapons that we have offensively, then I think the Bears have a good shot of making the playoffs. There's always that one team that kind of surprises people in the NFL, which I like that. But I still think the Bears have a legit shot at making the playoffs in 2020. It's kind of early a little bit too early to determine that, depending on how we do in the draft and all that. But I still think even with whatever we do with the draft and whatever's left of free agency, I still think the Bears have a good, legitimate shot at making the playoffs. They just had to really jump that ladder that they did in 2018, which is getting over the hump of the Green Bay Packers. They get over that hump, we'll make the playoffs. It's a little bit too early, but I think the Bears still have a good shot at making the playoffs in 2020. But all right, guys. This is going to do it for this week's episode of Chicago Bears Weekly. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Both handles APW Sports, and both are linked in the description below. That's all I've got. Make sure you guys stay safe and do your part of flattening the curve um, with this virus going on. Make sure you guys just really do your part in flattening the curve. Stay inside as much possible if you can, so we can return back to normal a little bit quicker. But I will see you guys next time. You guys have a great and excellent day. Peace.